So these are the last two that I don't know anything about. And between the two here, this one's cleaner, which means I'll start on this one. This here is the first one I got. And I also forgot that I put an HPI pull start on there. So there was 4 mods, but we'll get to this one last. So I'm gonna go ahead and start disassembling this. And yeah, get it cleaned up. I forgot to say on one of the newer ones, I think it's this one here, I used a cut up fuel line for the gaskets between the chassis and the fuel tank. You won't be able to see it, but that's what I'm referencing to. So we'll get started right here. So I always start with the engine, pipe, and tank when disassembling any vehicle. That gives you a real insight into how dirty the job actually is going to be. There's no engagement. It's probably a snaps pen we're missing. So that's already something we're up against. Alright, take the top chassis off and the wheels and the front bumper. Here we have it. So the front bumper mount is intact. That's good. Excuse me. Front bumper is good. I didn't see any cracks in the tank yet. Most important part is the primer bulb. Mostly the ring that goes around it. I'm talking about for my extra tank parts. So this tank seems to be good so far. Obviously needs to be cleaned. This is what I meant by those. But yeah, this chassis is pretty dirty. And like I said, these should all be moving. So there's a pin missing somewhere on this shaft. And then, you know, likewise when this moves, this center shaft should be moving as well. So there's something going on here. But the parts seem to be cleaned themselves, other than the dirt on them. I mean, it doesn't seem like anything's broken. So we'll just go ahead and get this stuff cleaned up for what it is. So continue to break this down. Just take the front and rear end off the chassis, just like I did in the opposite fashion as I was building these. So as I reassemble this, I'll break into the instructions and show some of the good stuff that might be helpful for anyone else working on this vehicle. One of which I went over in the last video, which is the lay shaft, A and B side, 17 tooth pulley on the outside here, 16 or 23, I'm sorry, 25 for the front belt. But yeah, anyways, we'll continue to get this torn down and get it ready to be washed up and reassembled. So when you guys see a for sale price on these in the future, you'll know why it is what it is, because we do every screw, every nook and cranny, rebuild from the bottom up. This is disgusting. It's probably, I don't know, 20 years old. Num-nums. Just kidding, that's so gross. Let's see. This is how dirty I leave mine. It's pretty bad too, but I knew I was coming back to the project, so I had an excuse to leave it. But yeah, these cars get dirty, especially when you're running them. I don't know what this guy did or didn't do, but we'll see on the long run. As I suspected when I found this pulley, this actually just came right off. I think the E-clip was missing, so it must have separated enough for the pin to come out. Or something, I don't know, but basically the pin was missing, and now that I think about it, the E-clip was missing. Even on this one. Not here. So I think that's what was going on. Because there's no pin there. So, anyways, like I said, the front and rear end look clean. And the differentials feel good. I probably won't even disassemble the full things. The shocks feel alright. And just send it. I'll just clean them up as they are. You know, slap a pin in here. Get some clips. Get it all sorted. But as you can see, this chassis is filthy. Underneath all that grime, it is clean though. So all that stuff to the right is from underneath the pull start. And all that stuff to the left is all the gunk that's been flung around and dripping nitro from inside the engine. And then obviously to the left is the leaking fuel. No, that's a battery. I'm sorry. The fuel's over here in my pointer finger. So, like I said, this was probably left in a garage for 20 years. Go ahead and get this stuff cleaned up. Come back with it ready to be assembled again. I'll start with this engine and this engine. And I'm gonna put this engine in one of these two. I forget which one. I'll figure that out though. So get this one to be a roller again. Go over this one, clean it up, and then refurbish this one. I'll probably tear it down all the way, just because, or basically to the same point I did here. This one also has a good tank, primer bulb. I tried using a zip tie on one of those, it just doesn't work. You gotta have that ring. This fuel tank actually is really good. Anyways, so we'll get this stuff cleaned up and get back to you. So everything's off the chassis. We can see how really dirty it is. The parts were just too dirty to leave together. So I took everything off and I'm gonna get this stuff cleaned up. Things that were clean enough, and the screws I left in here. Just get that stuff brushed off as it comes to be reassembled. So yeah, we'll come back in a minute. There's several minutes with this stuff spick and span. I still have to clean the servos, the shocks, and the engine, but everything else is ready to be put back together. So I'm going to go ahead and start putting things on the chassis, and then when I get to these things, I'll clean them and continue the build. So the chassis is pretty much reassembled. This is what I got left. Top chassis. Gotta say, it was really helpful to have this instruction manual. I'll flip through it slowly here, so if anyone needs it, they can pause and get information they need. Yeah, sorry, I don't have any like flashy editing or music. Nothing fancy. This is the gold right here. Like I said in a previous video, particularly step 2. Yeah, so the things that I found with this car is that a couple of the E-clips were missing Oh, it shows on the next section. Oh, well, yeah, this one here. Actually, it was this one here. So the E-clips were missing, a few pins were missing. That's why the center belt wasn't catching. And the rear sway bars were disconnected too, so I don't know how that happened. So yeah, on here you're either going to have a 25 tooth or a 16 tooth for this gear. And this is what it looks like assembled. You want to note that there's an A side and a B side. The A side has a little, I guess, slit to mark the end, similar to how an E-clip would go on, not to be mistaken for where an E-clip would go on. So that's the 17 tooth side. So this is where the side would be marked. It would be just like that. This is pretty helpful too for that center belt. I don't have it on all the cars. I do have it on some. The rest of this should go together really smoothly after cleaning the rest of the parts. I don't know what the transponder is, but yeah, I gotta clean these parts here and the servos and the pipe hanger and the shocks. And that's all she wrote. These are good instructions. Fairly straightforward. Really nice car. Good looking car. So yeah, that's the instructions for you. Hopefully that helped. I know this information would have helped me when I first got one of these cars. But yeah, after working on them, you know, several of them, I'm pretty comfortable with it. So yeah, we'll get the rest of this built, cleaned, then built. And we'll, excuse me, then we'll move on to the next one. I don't know where things stand with this one. Obviously there's some replacement screws, some missing screws, some throttle servo linkage mods, and it looks like they also did the Traxxas carb swap. So Overall it looks pretty clean. This one has the chassis protector. I already checked to see if it would peel off without getting adhesive everywhere, and it will, so that'll be a clean rebuild as well. But anyways, yeah, we'll finish this and check back in. So as you can see, these cars clean up real nice. This is like when your friend lets their hair grow out and then they get a haircut. Like, damn, forgot you could be this clean. Even if they have scars on their face or something. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, so this car, this chassis, is pretty much all set. I just gotta get to the engine, clean that, install it. So yeah, satisfied with this. Got the pins and E-clips where they need to be. As you can see, all four wheels engage when it's moving. The differentials feel good. Everything's clean. As you can see, this was a pile of parts. Now it's not, so yeah, we'll see. See how this engine cleans up. Now it's hard to believe that this engine was in this car. If you remember earlier in this, we did a shot of this angle and it was disgusting. Now you can see how clean it is. So we'll clean that up, get it installed, and then move on to the next one. So I got the engine cleaned off. It was disgusting. It still feels a little sticky and gotta get all the nooks and crannies, so in order to do that I gotta further disassemble it. The carb doesn't fully go in and it won't turn over. I got it pretty warm, it's still warm to the touch, and the pull star won't move. And since I already took the flywheel off, I can't turn it over yet. But anyways, I'm going to further disassemble it, get this thing real nice and clean, and get it installed there. Everything as far as the clutch assembly was mint. Usually are. I think other things with these cars go wrong before any of that would. And then people put it away, and that's usually how I find these cars. But anyways, so yeah, we'll get this further disassembled, cleaned, reassembled, and ready to test. And add it to the pile. Cruising along. The inside of this was fairly clean. The crankshaft and piston were seized, but some after-run oil and some elbow grease and a little bit of nitro fuel was able to get that stuff freed up. So this engine spins freely, and inside the sleeve seems to be decent, so I'm just gonna go ahead and send it. I don't feel like taking the sleeve out and cleaning it. This is good enough for me. So I'm gonna go ahead and reassemble what I have here, except for this carburetor. I kind of want to work on the carburetor. I feel like this should be going in more. So, yeah. Take a look at that before I install it and get it in the car. So this went together really smoothly. Gotta love some battery corrosion, but I scrubbed it as good as I could. Everything, every nook and cranny on this car was cleaned, so. If you remember earlier in this, you'll see I did a comparison between the two. Mint. This car is actually quite easy to work on. So, just so this isn't too long, I'll go ahead and stop here with this video, but yeah. Gear mesh feels good too. I'll double check this before I run it. I know which one it is because it has the foamless filter and the wheels, but yeah, so not to mention the corrosion. So yeah, another one built, ready for testing. I gotta say, I do like how they put the company logo on some of these parts here, particularly this metal plate. You know, these little stamps and stuff like this are appreciated. It's not much effort. When the companies do it, it definitely stands out. That would make a cool bracelet or necklace, pendant, keychain, something. But anyways, yeah, this car has come a long way. Hopefully the information from this manual has been helpful. We'll close this one out. Thanks for watching. If you're interested, I'm gonna go ahead and get these two done quickly in the next part. And then after that, we'll get these engines cleaned up and then install them in some of the chassis that we're gonna use. So all of this will be ready to run, including these two down here. And we'll drive them and test them and get them off for sale in the spring and early summer. Thank you for your interest in nitro, and we'll see ya.